Okay, so for the second stage of creating this charcuterie board, what we're going to do is take all three hearts. We're just going to combine them into a single component. Effectively in Fusion, I'm just copying all three bodies into a single component as opposed to the three components that we originally did for each body. And this is, as you'll see, so that we can easily just export that single component that includes all three. I'm just making a copy, pasting into my new combined component, and then I'm just disabling the individual component once I copy the body from being visible, so that it's just not confusing that there's two bodies in the same space. And then we're going to export. Now that we have the three hearts as a single STL, in order to model them for the CNC to cut out all three together, which is the quickest, we're going to create a new file, single-sided, 225 by 225. That's enough space for the jig that I already have and pieces that I have cut. 9 millimeters thick, which is what we want the total thickness of these heart bowls. Center origin, because we'll use the jig setup for that. Then we just go to File, Import Component, 3D Model, and our combined STL file. And so we just center model, and they should be 9 millimeter thick on 9 millimeter material. So that looks right. Position and import. It's in the center. Click import. So first thing we'll do is we'll select a model in 2D view, and we'll create vector boundary. And then we'll do toolpaths, 3D roughing. We'll do model boundary. We're using our 46225K. It's a 1/8 end mill. We will just leave it as Z. Calculate that. We won't preview it. Looks expected. We'll have 3D finish. 3D finish is the 46282 taper. In the V60 video, we use this one. We'll use this one again. Pretty much same setting. Model boundary. We'll do offset, conventional, calculate. So this will be a, super fine but super smooth. That worked out pretty well for the V60 holder. So we'll do the same here. And then we'll select these vectors and we'll do a profile toolpath. We'll go back to our 46225K outside 9 millimeter cut depth and calculate. And this will cut them out. And so we will do a preview on toolpaths. Quite frankly, it's as easy as that, and they look pretty darn good. So here I'm just zeroing out. I'm cutting those hearts out with the same jig that I use for the origami. So I have these 3D printed jigs for the coffee holder for center and zeroing. So what we do next is we take the model outer boundary and we copy, export it. The reason I'm doing this is simply to make sure that I've got the exact same vector that I just cut out, making the heart-shaped holes. and then we import it into the board. And then we roughly put it in the same position that we had our vectors. These effectively are exactly the same, but because it's an inlay, I'm just trying to make sure that I've got it as exact between the two cuts as possible. Now that we got the vectors in place, we'll just do a inlay straight pocket carve, picking a small 1/8 inch end mill bit. And then I'm going to start with a really small 0.05 millimeter overcut of the pocket. Okay, so as we saw, that was not enough offset, so we're going to go back in, double the offset to 0.1 millimeter. Actually, I think I'm going to go 0.15. We haven't moved the piece. We haven't changed our origins or anything on the CNC. Matter of fact, it's completely still sitting there running. So we just go back, rerun the job, and it'll cut it a little bit bigger. So now that we got the inlay, we're going to go back and cut everything else, starting with the handle. So this is just a profile toolpath inside, cutting through. And then here we're just doing an outside toolpath on the cutout. The only difference is I'm adding tabs just to keep it stable, and we'll just sand them down. So here, all I'm doing is just using a round over bit on the router table by hand. This does a nice round over and takes care of those tabs just because I've got the height adjustment and the right round over, and I picked a small enough tab that I knock them out in just doing this round over. So here I'm just using the X-Tool S1 lasers marking to give a rough shape of the outline in the laser so that I've got the placement right. And then we just import the vectors that we'll laser out for the cheesy love part. So then on the engrave, there's a little bit of a tedious part here where we have to make sure that we get the holes in the lettering and in the leaf flower pieces that are intended. So those vectors are there, and I'm just hunting them down and excluding them from the selection so that it looks like it's supposed to look. So then we let the laser do its thing and burn out that design. Again, we're not going super deep here, so this doesn't really take too long. It's mostly just hoping that the placement was right. All right, so now we just do the obligatory sanding here. Here I'm literally just sanding a little bit just to get burn marks and dust and stuff off. So now that's done, I'm taping up the hearts. Actually, I'm taping up the whole board except where I'm epoxy filling the cheesy love. Because we don't want the epoxy to bleed into anything that I can't easily sand out. Now, unfortunately, I had the obligatory hard drive crash. Lost the videos of doing the epoxy pour and the sanding and the finishing. But to be honest, plenty of epoxy pour videos. This is just for a small inlay, and watching sanding and finishing is lame. So I just finished it with cutting board oil, and now I'm just putting legs on using a Jig i3D printed.